Hello, everybody, and welcome once again to AIW's The Card is Going to Change. Thanks for listening to us and tuning in. Before we get to this week's episode, of course, we want to give the shout out to our sponsors that help us bring it to you for free each and every week. Thank you to Angelo's Pizza, who delivers the pizza for us and provides it for you so that you can purchase it from us at the shows. They're a great sponsor. If you want to try more than their pizza, visit Angelo's on Madison Avenue in Lakewood, Ohio. Thanks, of course, to Pollyanna DIY, who does some amazing different merchandise that you can purchase, and they've done stuff for us in the past, so make sure you check out Pollyanna DIY. Also, thanks to Smart Mark Video, who records all of our shows so that you can watch it back by purchasing DVD or downloading on MP4. And when we talk about download, of course, not only do you do that at smartmarkvideo.com, but you can sign up for independentwrestling.tv. By using the code ABSOLUTE, you get a 20-day free trial and watch all sorts of AIW shows from the archives. This thing goes back there.
The old archives.
So as we sit here right now, it is the day after Sekimoto takes Cleveland. So if my voice is strained, that is why. It was a raucous, loud crowd. So
I'm a little slow moving today myself. I don't know if somebody spiked my drink or what. I don't know.
On this episode, it's just AIW owner John Thorne and myself, Steve Guy, your moderator of sorts. And we're just going to preview Absolution 14 for you guys coming up this Friday. As you're listening to this right now, it officially is Absolution Week.
It is.
It came quick.
Yeah, it did come quick for pushing it so far back. It feels like it has snuck up on us pretty quickly.
It feels like just yesterday we were stressing out and planning for Jersey City.
Yeah, it's and like maybe it just came so quick because we added the Sakimoto show, which was not originally on the schedule.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, let's here we are. We're at Absolution Week. Or I guess this will be, I guess our hype episode, or are we gonna? I don't know. I'm not feeling too hyped.
I was gonna say we don't really have the energy to bring the hype right now. It's at the Odeon in downtown Cleveland. What an awesome thing that's turned into for us. I think when you talk to the fans who are there in person, they love the feel that it gives off.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely that has turned into a pretty good relationship, it's right in the heart of downtown Cleveland. I mean, it's pretty much centrally located for people from coming east or west side.
Yeah.
And like, I was worried about the paying the park situation and all that, but like, I mean, I'm paying $5 to park. You know what I mean? It's not that bad. $5 isn't that bad.
Yeah, there's a lot of parking down there because it's kind of the older part of the flats, and so there's a lot of parking that's walking distance that is very inexpensive compared to other places around
right
downtown.
Like, if you're going to the queue or something, you're paying $30-$40.
Yeah, and it's a little it's honestly it's a little bit of a trade-off because you think about our show last night at the Winchester and you talk about parking,
it's free, but there was not like it was a mess.
You're blocks and blocks away and stuff, so it's that trade-off. Like, yeah, you're paying $5, but you're a lot closer and you're not swooping around or trying to find parking wherever.
Yeah, I think if we go back to the Winchester, like I would recommend to a lot of the fans, is, that is definitely like an Uber Lyft sort of
100%
situation, because I mean that's if you go anywhere in Lakewood though, there's nowhere to park in Lakewood.
Yeah, it just is what it is. But it's also that, I mean, it being a smaller venue, that helps us out a little bit. But so as we look into Absolution, storylines and things have started to take shape, and I think there's a lot of stuff that people are looking forward to.
Do you? I hope so. I mean, that's the plan, right? It's like people look forward to it.
They are. I'll tell you. We'll lead off with this. The guys from 40 Acres.
Even before you lead off, I will say that we did do a lot of tiered seating for Absolution, which.
Yes.
All of the tiers sold out, but we do have general admission, which is if, it's no different than, if you've been coming to AIW on a general admission ticket forever. Other than you just can't sit on the stage. The stage was, was priced differently this time, but so there are plenty of general admission tickets left as of right now.
Which we should mention. Oh, by the way, the tier pricing is something, we listen to the feedback that we get from fans, and there are many people who had suggested and asked about something for that, because stage being general admission, but they are some awesome seats realistically in that venue. So we have plenty of people who said, hey, I kind of would like to sit up there if I kind of pay an extra $5 or whatever. I mean, I had people come up to me at some point asking me how they sit in the VIP section.
Yeah, because
how much they have to pay.
Yeah, because some people don't have time to get there that early. You know what I mean? So we did kind of make it an option, and I went back and forth on that option because it's like when I go to the movies now, I kind of hate that I have to go online and buy my ticket and pick my seat in advance. Like, I hate that because I think it takes away from the movie experience. But then also when I do it, I'm just like, oh, like I don't have to get there, a half hour early. Like,
now I can relax a little bit.
So like I see both sides of it, but I definitely think there are those people that love getting there early because they want to run and get their seat, and it's like part of the experience for them. But there are other people that have things to do, and they would like to have those seats too. They just cannot do it. So we put the option out there as this was kind of like a test run to see if there was interest, and those stage seats sold out like in like a day or two. So
yeah, those sold fast. Did those sell? I think those may have sold quicker than the front row.
Front row went.
We'll be more of the front row.
Yeah, front row went like very, very quickly, which is, it probably went the fastest it's gone in quite some time.
Is that crazy to you? Because I know we sit here, we do a lot of these episodes where you're stressed out, but here we are at this point. Absolution. We don't have a big meet and greet signing thing. We didn't book an Arn Anderson or somebody else that we've done in the past with an Absolution, but tickets have been hot sellers.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess I'll mention that is, we definitely did try to book
100%
a big meet and greet, because that is kind of the tradition of Absolution, and it just I could not find any availability, and then I kept looking into it, and I just kept striking out, and it's just one of those things, like we have to roll with it and see what happens. I guess we can't always do a big meet and greet. I definitely did try though to get a meet and greet guy, and it just or girl, but it just didn't work out.
We did try that too,
and it's like, let's see what happens, and let's kind of see if people understand that this is the biggest show no matter who's there. And I mean, tickets are good. Tickets aren't like the Arn Anderson good yet. You know what I mean? But we still have a week to go. Tickets are selling pretty well. But I just wanted to address that. Like some people were like, oh, thinking maybe it's sold out or close to sold out. Like, no, we have a lot of general admission tickets left. So, like
plenty of room to fill there.
If you go on shop.aiwrestling.com and you could buy a ticket right now.
And I think if we're gonna make any sort of plea to you fans, it is this. We are trying to show how big we are, because don't forget, we're streaming it on Fite TV as well, and we want to show out to the people who are streaming it. So we have so many people who ask us, man, why don't you guys do even more and go even bigger and whatnot? Well, here we are, you guys, with no huge name meet and greet to come pull you in. It's just AIW at its core, and this is what we do. It's our biggest show of the year. So show up, show to people that this is what we are.
And, if you aren't, making the trip in, or a local Clevelander, so to speak, please order it on Fite TV, because I saw a lot of this morning when I was reading feedback from the Sakimoto show, and it's like, I wish this was streamed. It's like, there are additional expenses that go into streaming that people don't understand.
Sure.
And so we need to do. It's like, I don't know how. Like, I guess for like lack of a better term, we have to do a good buy rate, so to speak, on Fite, and we did fairly well for Jaylit, and not like a blow away, but we did decent enough to where it was like, okay, now let's we could do this Absolution show as well, and then if this does good, maybe there will be more streams, but it's really a matter of the support being there, because Fite's not going to open up their servers for a show that's going to,
right,
3 people are going to watch.
Yeah.
And, it also comes with additional expenses through Smart Mark Video, and, there has to be more production people involved. So, yeah, it's just like any way that you could support the show this Friday is greatly appreciated, because it is kind of a risk going in without the big meet and greet thing, because that does help get the casual fan through the door.
Yeah. So if you guys want to help us grow so even more casual fans can discover us, support, that's the best thing that I could tell you.
Yeah, and I do think that we've done a good job of establishing a roster and new people, and you'll see that when we break this card down. And I do think it's a very diverse card with some intriguing matchups, and we are, I think, pretty set up as of now to when the industry really starts to change in the fall. Like, I think that we are in a good spot to be okay, as long as people continue to support and come to the live events and buy the streams if there's a stream. Like, I think it's not, we're not looking at like some of the doom and gloom that some of the other indie wrestling promotions are looking at right now,
which is nice, which is thanks to all of you guys who have been supporting us throughout this time, and obviously through things that we've set up, like the school and things we've talked about on these shows in the past. So I guess let's talk about the card a little bit. I was starting to say, let's start with this 40 Acres group of PB Smooth, AJ Gray, and Trey Lamar taking on the Production. And this is kind of a more recent storyline, but people are already pumped about it because 40 Acres they've done their job, and they've done nothing but piss people off for the last couple months at shows, coming out and challenging guys, just beating people down. And the Production, somehow, trying to be as evil and devilish as possible when they have matches, has a lot of, I don't know, positive vibes behind them, I guess, for lack of better terms. And
well, I'll say this, like,
on that.
What I noticed about the Production is a Production were, obviously booked and placed as heels, but they were doing so much creative things that it was like they were like the heels that like people liked. It was just like, oh, these guys are good heels, but it's like, well, then they're not really heels. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
They're the guys that you like. Like, yeah, they're doing what you think is a good heel, which it's kind of like this weird, like, I don't know if like oxymoron is the right description, but it's like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, which makes you like them, but the fact that you like them makes them not what they're supposed to be doing. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's like I've seen this for a while, and it's like, oh man, the Production are like they're so cool, and like, but they're the bad guys. I'm like, we love that they're the bad guys, and it's like, well, then that means they're baby faces. You know? So not all these stories or anything need a gigantic build, and it was like there was an altercation at Jaylit, and then
with Eddie comes out with a broken ankle even,
and then at the Winchester on Thursday night, they kind of rolled in and made the challenge, and the people were excited for it. I read some reviews that were like saying they don't like the Production as baby faces and this and that. I was like, obviously, if you were there at the Winchester Thursday night, I mean, the people, they were hot for it.
They really were. They were ready for PB and Trey to get theirs without AJ Gray being there at the show. So, I mean, this is, like I said, this is one that quickly took form, but people are pumped about it.
So, yeah, they will be doing a 6-man tag this Friday night.
So this has, I guess, even though this is the first match we're talking about, does this have the opportunity to be potentially a show stealer or something that people talk about?
I mean,
because there's a lot going on. There are so many different styles just in the guys that are in this match.
This is what I'll say is, as we break this card down, you'll know what the quote unquote like main events are or whatever. Like not everything on the card can be a main event, and I think that placement is a motivator for quite a few people, especially these guys who are, outside of Danhausen and AJ Gray, pretty much all homegrown through the AIW school. And, you could even somewhat take credit for AJ Gray kind of being a homegrown product of AIW. So I think that makes all of these guys very, very hungry to show out because, they want to be at the top of the card next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. So let's talk about, as we go into this, a singles match here that just really it has no storyline. This is probably the one match that we have no story behind other than these two guys wanted to be involved in Absolution, and that's Swoggle and Joey Janela.
Yeah, this was just kind of one of those ideas that started as a little bit of a joke and then kind of took shape. The thing is, with the AEW schedules and all this, other stuff, and what bookings they can take, what bookings they can't take, etc. I'd been talking with Joey for this for a while, and it was like, he kept kind of seeing like how the schedule played out, and as things came together, and finally about 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, he was like, "Yeah, I can do it." And I was just kind of busting Swaggle's balls and about it, and he's like, "Oh," he's like, "Really?" He's like, "Seriously?" He's like, "I would love to do that match." And my pitch kind of to Joey Janela was like, "Hey man, if this is the last time, let's do one last weird freak show booking for you on your way out of the independents,
just be entertaining as hell."
So that's where we're at, and I think Joey Janela is always motivated to steal a show, and Hornswoggle, another guy that is constantly looking for that new life, you know what I mean, to where letting people know that he's not just the WWE guy that you saw on television hiding underneath the ring. So he's always kind of looking to prove himself. And I think, this is an Absolution match.
Yeah. This is the kind of match that people tend to expect from an Absolution.
I will say, for the AEW guys on the show, which is, Joey Janela and MJF, win, lose, or draw on Friday night, as of this moment, this will be their last time in AIW. So if you want to come and see these guys, support these guys, maybe you've never come to see these guys live, now's the time, or else you could go take your chances going and seeing them in a big arena when AEW is touring for television.
Yeah,
like
so you can wait and sit all the way back in a crowd.
This is your chance to come
10,000.
Come and meet these guys, see these guys in a more intimate situation than when they're doing these big arena tours, which is going to start in the fall.
A great point with that. So I want to talk about this because I have to ask a question with it as we talk about new storylines quickly developing. The newest of them, the young Zach Thomas, is going to take on Nick Gage. And last night, or Thursday night, at Sekimoto Takes Cleveland, Nick Gage says this is going to be a death match. John Thorne, is this going to be a death match?
I mean, that wasn't the plan. That wasn't the plan, so I don't know. I think Nick Gage was just in the moment.
So Zach Thomas comes out in our main event. It was a 6-man tag, and Nick Gage was teamed with Matt Justice and Dominic Guarini, and Zach Thomas bashes him over the head with a broken piece of a door and costs the match.
That looked brutal. So brutal at like after the fact. After the show was over, I was talking to Nick Gage, and there was a splinter of the door sticking out right underneath his eye, and I was like so disgusted and scared for that. Like, and I don't even know if he knew it was there, but it was like not like a little piece either. Like it was like, you know, like the fucking door was like just implanted right underneath his eye, and he was just having a conversation. Like it wasn't. He has no idea. He had no idea it was there, and I was like. I've seen some like brutal things in my time, and I was like, this is really making me uncomfortable.
Yeah, and this is one of those subtle things in terms of where did this come from. You got to pay attention to everything that you watch, because if you go back to J-Lit night 2, these guys are in a 4-way in that second round. Nick Gage ends up winning. Zach is, beaten to shit and kind of slowly making his way towards...
He pins Zach.
He pins Zach, yeah. And Zach's slowly making his way towards the back. He's on the outside of the ring. Rather than going back up the ramp, Nick wanted to go through the crowd. Zach's in his way, so he just rails him.
Yeah.
Just throws him right into the rails. And Zach, I guess, feels that's a little bit of a disrespect.
And that is one of those subtle things to where, if you're paying attention... you see this match coming a mile away, but if you're just casually watching, you're not gonna see where this came from. And Zach Thomas, we released it on the podcast feed. He voices his opinions on why he wants a match with Nick Gage, and last night he came and he made his presence felt in the main event.
What is it you always say, John Thorne? What do we do here at AIW?
We're making movies.
There it is. So I guess it's going to be a death match. Is that, what do you think? Is that
I don't know, man.
You get final say.
There's so much stuff that's going to be violent on this show.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm a little worried about the overkill on the brutality, but I guess it's really going to be up to the fans. You know what I mean? Like, if they show up with some stuff and some stuff gets used,
You said that, and somewhere young Caden has heard that and already has gone into a different room to see what he's got to make weapons out of.
Well, whatever happens, don't bring any fucking glass, because I don't want to clean it up.
No glass, folks. Keep it at that.
And we don't want any of that spooky light tube juice floating around in the Odin.
Yeah, no light tubes.
Smoke,
no glass.
Spooky light tube smoke.
The only smoke we want is from the fog machine, all right?
Or Pat Franklin's vape pen.
Sure, that too. So we'll keep these singles match. Well, a lot of singles matches, I guess, in here. But
another big singles match that we don't really have to spend a lot of time on is Dominic Garrini versus Tim Donst. Submit or surrender. Don't want to spend a lot of time on it because the build-up, as discussed, went over a little bit on their time.
Yeah,
but, Dominic Garrini. This is kind of his established match right now. The submit or surrender situation typically gets very violent, like a lot of things on this card, and Tim Donst is no slouch when it comes to Absolution. Wish I had in front of me like an exact number of his Absolution appearances, but he always comes correct on Absolution. You don't have to look any further than last year to realize that, as him and Joey Janela pretty much stole the show in their ladder match. But yeah, we don't have to spend a lot of time on this one, and we can move on to the rest of the card because we have a lot of stuff to talk about. So, Dominic Garrini, Tim Donst, this is all the time you're getting on this podcast.
Now let's go to the other AEW guy on the card, MJF, taking on Big Twan Tucker. And before we even talk about the dynamic of these two, you had other plans in mind for this, right?
Yeah, initially we were going to build to MJF and Josh Prohibition here. It was going to start at Keep Their Heads Ringing, where it was going to be MJF versus Josh Prohibition, and then poor Josh Prohibition, man, he's so upset that he kind of got bumped off the card, and he let it be. He made me feel like absolute shit yesterday all day long. saying he's going to bring a trampoline to Absolution and jump on it like Dennis Stamp. But, that card change, which then changes that, and then Josh Prohibition was unable to do the J-Lit weekend because of a personal commitment. I think he had to go to like a family wedding or something.
Yeah, I think he went to a wedding.
And then this Twan thing happens organically, through all this NXT stuff.
NXT Twan, man.
I just told him, I said, I had to pull the trigger on Twan, man. It's just like the people wanted it.
Oh, it's very hard when MJF is out there and he is the heelest of heels and he's got Twan by his side, but everybody's chanting NXT Twan. How does Twan become an evil henchman at that point?
Right. And it's just like, it was one of those things where it's like, you got to call the audible, you know what I mean? And the card is going to change. It's the name of this podcast. It's the name of the game, and the card for Absolution changed. The second Twan came out at J-Lit Night 1, which was, I believe, the week of him taping his NXT stuff. He taped it the night before, the Thursday night before. He was just a made man, and it's just like whatever you want to say about WWE or NXT, they gave Twan a gift, you know what I mean? And
100%, yeah.
It is essentially made his career right now, and the fact that now Twan is one of the most over guys in the company, and to prove it wasn't a fluke, last night at the Winchester, the people were going nuts as soon as Twan walked through the curtain.
And I was going to say, we'll talk more about that when we talk about that show, but hell of a match he had with Ethan Page and everybody going crazy for him last night. So this one, of course, J-Lit Night 2. Not Night 2, Night 1, actually. Night 1, Twan inadvertently causes the loss for MJF against Savio Vega. MJF does some dirty things to Twan, does him dirty, even spits on him. And I'll tell you what, if there's a guy I'm not going to spit on in AIW because of the intensity that I feel like is going to follow, Nick Gage is an obvious one, but I don't think I'm spitting on Big Twan.
No, he's deceivingly very big. Like, I don't think people realize how big Twan actually is.
And then when that rage hits, I don't want to be the one to fire him up for negative purposes, and that's exactly what MJF has done.
Ethan Page compared him to Ahmed Johnson yesterday, and he meant it in the most positive of positive ways. And I see it. I see it 100%. Pearl River Plunge is a plenty, hopefully, on Friday night.
We'll see if, in Twan's words, he gets that pin, gets that win.
Yeah, and, like I said, MJF, obviously this guy is going to go on to... He's on his way to superstardom, you know what I mean? AEW has already renegotiated his contract and signed him for multiple more years, and they have not even started their television product yet. So he is obviously a guy that is going to be a major player in this new company. And, this Friday night, you could see him, locally live for the last time, at least on this scale. And I think that, that's important to, for people to come and realize that, so many people have seen all the clips or whatever of all these guys that are on Monday Night Raw and this and that and WWE, and it's like, well, now there's this new company and it's going to kind of be the same thing, and it's just like, you could come experience it instead of watching a clip, on YouTube later.
You've got the opportunity to come on Friday and be, watching this guy inside the ring from 100 feet away, that close. You could see the sweat on everybody and everything. And then a few months later, in October, I think it is, they said they're going to be on TV. Watch them on television. And you could sit there just a few months and be like, oh, wow, 3 months ago, I just watched this guy in a match from like 100 feet away with only 500 or 600 people, which I say only, but that's a lot for the audience. We packed that out. But, compared to an arena, of course, much smaller and more intimate, as you said.
I hope there's 500 or 600 people there Friday night.
I know, I'm hoping.
We still got,
Listen, I keep saying
Still
it.
got some tickets to sell.
I'm pushing you guys to buy those tickets.
I want my. This is what I want all week. I want that Eventbrite notification app going off on my phone all week this week.
You want that battery to die out every day.
Every day.
Just go.
Because that's the thing that, another thing is some people were a little disappointed in the switch to Eventbrite, and it is just so much better for us from an analytical standpoint and a being able to know hard numbers on everything. And it's like every time a ticket is ordered, like I get a notification on an app, and it tells me like who did it, like who bought them, how many, and how many we have total sold and how many are left available, but before we sell out. So I want that thing going off all week, because as good as tickets have sold initially in that first burst, we're still a ways away from the 500-600. So let's pack it out on Friday night, please.
Turn people away at the door? Never.
I mean, we haven't yet, but you never know. And also, a good company will be hosting the after party as always, and there could be a couple surprises showing up that may only be available for you to meet at Good Company later that night. We'll see what happens.
Oh, wow. How about that? And it's, speaking of Good Company, that's turned into being such a great partnership, and shout out to Jonah there for helping us with that. And of course, Pat Franklin setting all that up to begin with. But we had a blast at the Fun House. But man, what a partnership this has been. I got to do a sit down interview with Philly Marino, and we filmed that there. So there's just so many different things now that we're able to do that we couldn't before with a restaurant or a location like that. It's kind of,
they've welcomed us with open arms, and it's not just like a hey, we want to make money off of you sort of thing, which is a nice change of pace, because like as many relationships that we've set up, and we've helped establishments, and some aren't necessarily as appreciative as others, and it is nice to be appreciated for what we can do for them and what they do for us. It's a very good mutual partnership.
And I should say, before anybody insinuates anything, the Funhouse is not one of those that didn't appreciate us. They loved us, and we love going there. We found, we were able to cultivate this partnership with Good Company and expand upon it more than just after parties and do other things.
Right.
So it just worked out a little bit better than the Funhouse. But they were always great to us. Stash, the owner there, always said, if you guys ever need a reference and somebody's giving you a hard time and doesn't understand what you would mean, give them my information, have them call, because I'd be happy to tell them how you would impact their business. So back to the card here. Let's talk about Mance Warner and Jock Sampson with the Duke in Jock's corner. What a full circle thing for Duke and Jock Sampson. Absolution.
Yeah, I know. And, this is one of those things to where Jock has not been around for a while. And I thought it was a perfect way to kind of, have this whole thing come to a head. And this whole incident, I don't know if people saw Duke's promo, where Duke expressed his personal just distaste for Mance.
Felt like he was wasted money.
And, I'll actually probably put that on the podcast feed this week, just the audio of it, so you can hear it. Because I don't know how many of you follow the Duke, because he exclusively released it on his own personal Twitter account. Because
the Duke 1279,
the file was too large as he was trying to send it to me from San Diego Comic-Con, so he just uploaded it. But yeah, basically the Duke is a little upset at Mance Warner's newfound superstardom outside of AIW and not get invited along for the ride.
Yeah, he's none too pleased about it. Figures his money is what bought Mance Warner some superstardom, and didn't get enough bang for his buck.
And he's a little upset that he wasn't sitting at that table at StarCast with him in Vegas.
And Jock Sampson a little upset that he's not going along for the ride either. These guys are supposed to be a team.
So Duke's line was, Mance Warner was a heavy favorite to win the J-Lit, and he makes his way all the way to the finals. And Duke said, "God giveth, God taketh away," which I think is a little fucked up. Duke's referring to himself as God, but it is what it is.
Does it surprise you though?
No, not one bit. Not one bit.
If he is God, what does that make Jock Sampson?
I don't know. I don't. Who's second in line to God, dude? I don't know.
I don't.
Who's God's fucking hired gun? I'm not a big Bible guy.
What's the Father, Son, Holy? Is Jock Sampson the Holy Ghost? Maybe because you go Father, Son, Holy Ghost or something, right? I don't know.
I mean, that sounds like a good nickname, the Holy Ghost.
Yeah, I like that.
So, yeah, but they're going to do a little bunkhouse brawl. Not exactly sure what that will entail. I think it just means that there's probably going to be
a lot of punches,
lots of punches, and hard hitting, and maybe some belt whips. And
what's the over under on unprotected chair shots to Duke?
Man, I don't know. To be honest with you. His fucking brains got to be a little scrambled these days.
Well, he just called himself God.
I think he meant it too.
Feeling himself at San Diego Comic-Con. Is this? I'm going to give you the opportunity here. This is long-term, long-form storytelling at its finest, right? You planned this a long time ago.
This has been planned, man, since Jock and Mance started tagging. So.
And even before that, when you watched Jock and the Duke at Absolution tear the house down, yes, folks, that happened. You said to yourself, you know what? I'm going to find a way that they end up on the same side.
I don't know if I went that. I think you're giving me a little too much credit there, but you can kind of find little ways to make the story make sense if you look at the past.
What Absolution was that?
Ooh.
The bull rope match?
I want to say 7 or 8, I think. It's on YouTube.
I was trying to think if there was
just look up Jock Sampson versus the Duke, and it'll come up. It is a very good match.
One of Ethan Page's favorite matches of all time.
A lot of people, like even Chris Dickinson says that's one of the greatest matches he ever saw live in his life.
Wow.
A lot of people that were there and experienced that said that, because nobody had any expectations for those guys. And I think that's why they are so bitter, is because still all these years later, nobody has expectations for them.
Well, last time that happened, we got that match. So,
and Mance Warner really is an incredible story. If you think about his history in AIW, and the fact that he just started showing up and doing ring crew, and I believe it was Absolution 2 years ago, where he was just a lumberjack in the Britt Baker Hornswoggle lumberjack fans bring the weapons match.
Yeah,
he just kind of went out there, and that was his first introduction, and he was just there setting the ring up. You know what I mean? And he went out there with other students and things to be a lumberjack, and now here he is in one of the marquee matches.
And he had a debut match with us. Was out at Music Links. I think it was still Music Links, not Tequila Jacks at that point, or whichever. But against Joshua Bishop, and here he is, man. He and MJF both debuted out there,
which is pretty incredible, because like those are considered, these bar shows are considered quote unquote B shows, but we've discovered some of the best young rising talent at these shows, and found a way to work them into the roster. MJF did debut at Music Links or Tequila Jacks or whatever it was called at that time. So yeah, it is a pretty interesting story if you really looked at the history of it all.
All right, so from there, let's get into our 3 different title matches that we have. First one being the tag title match, PME taking on To Infinity and Beyond. And if you need caught up on this, it's been a rivalry for, I don't know, the better part of a year now, at least Hell on Earth. but they crossed paths some other times. And then PME, you would think that their opportunities ran out, but they win the Chandler Biggins Memorial Tag Team Tournament, and they get to call their shot.
And, seek out this. I might just upload it for free, honestly, this week. This the match from Keep Their Heads Ringing with PME and To Infinity and Beyond. This is just
I'm trying to do the hype videos and build them so that, of course, you guys can watch them this week. And I was working on this show the other day, and I couldn't help myself. I watched the whole match.
It's so good. It's great.
Yeah,
it is classic tag team wrestling. Just done at its absolute finest. Somebody recently compared, I think, To Infinity and Beyond to the said that they're like the modern day Midnight Express because they're just so good at everything they do, and they just raise the stock of everyone they work with. And it's so true. Like PME, another team product of going through the AIW school and just kind of finding a way to endear themselves to the AIW crowd. And
that guy was so hot during that match too.
I literally think if To Infinity and Beyond wins, we could have a riot on our hands. I've seen a lot of posts.
I thought that we were going to have that happen at Keep Their Heads.
I've seen a lot of posts and tweets to say, if PME loses, we riot. So, I'll only know it's real if we have one of those banners hanging from the rafters, like when Cena wrestled Rob Van Dam at the Hammerstein Ballroom. But yeah, I mean, this one is.
These guys really don't like each other at this point.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be one of the most heated matchups of the whole night. I mean, definitely, definitely one of the main attractions of the whole evening.
We've talked about stories on this card that were quick to build to this, and this is one that, as we said, has been building for a long time. At Hell on Earth, PME lost. Philly is one of the guys that gets pinned at Jersey City. Then they lose it, Keep Their Heads Ringing. Now they present themselves with this title shot. And don't forget, in the Chandler Biggins Memorial Tag Team Tournament, Colin and Cheech got thrown out. They were in the finals, but Cheech uses one of the tag titles to, I don't remember if it was Philly or Marino, but eventually I think both, crush them both in the head with it. And Dave the Potato says, "No way, pal. You're out of here."
Babyface turn for the Potato.
Yeah. Calling it like it should be called. He did a great job there.
Fans will still never support him though.
No,
He's the only ref that really uses his referee's discretion for disqualifications and everything else. And
that's his job. That's what he's supposed to do. Tom Dunn's got the loosest of the rules.
But people just can't get behind the Potato, man. He calls it right down the middle.
He does. He's been doing a great job as of late. I can't believe I'm putting the Potato over on the podcast, but he's been doing an excellent job at the refereeing as of late. And folks, you just gotta give credit where credit's due.
Right down the middle.
I'm not saying you gotta like the guy, but give credit where it's due. All right. But yeah, this is gonna be, man. I'm looking forward to this whole card, but this is obviously one that's. This is one back to that match. Keep Their Heads Ringing. If this is anything like that, there are certain matches and moments where you're sitting there and you just get the goosebumps and you feel the energy of the crowd going into the match and the match giving them energy right back. And that was one of them. And if you do watch this, when Thorne uploads it, you better turn that volume all the way up because the crowd is hanging on to every single moment in that match.
Let's hope, they do it again.
Yeah.
Friday night.
These guys, PME is going to need the support. They've yet to defeat To Infinity and Beyond at any point in time.
They can never seem to win the big one.
Yeah, that's the story here. And look, during intermission at J-Lit, Cheech said it. I think he said they are career killers, or they don't just win matches. They end tag teams. Crazy Pain, they beat, gone. no consequences, no longer a team. So he's got some ammunition when he says that. And
So you're saying this Friday night could be the last time we ever see PME as a team in AIW?
I mean, who knows?
That's a cliffhanger.
That's what Cheech says he does. And to his point, when I was sitting down and we were doing the interview, Marino was getting hot, and I watched Philly try to kind of like coax him and hold him back, and Marino wanted none of it. There's some hostility there on both sides, but you can see it definitely starting to build on PME. So yeah, I am a little worried.
Interesting.
I don't think the fans would be the only ones that riot. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah. So from there, let's go into as we talk about intensity, the intense title match. Joshua Bishop, your current intense champion, of course, with Maserati Wes Barkley in his corner, taking on Matthew Justice. And you couldn't just have a straight-up match in this one, could you?
No, we're going falls count anywhere here. And we're just going to see what happens.
Now, last time we did that with these two, it did not end well.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen again. I mean, obviously these guys have been feuding for quite some time, and this is we're gonna see, or we're gonna see what happens when all the dust settles on Friday night.
Now, interesting thing here, if you're a fan, and I know some people are, Matt Justice could have the opportunity to capture 2 titles on Friday night if he really wanted to.
Yeah, he does have the cash in available.
He's got the cash in from winning the J-Lit. So he could win the intense title back. But something tells me,
or he could split the odds, and
yeah, he could lose that,
or he could lose trying to go for 2 titles, or he could not try to go for the absolute title. You never know.
Yeah. So there's a lot of question marks there. But something tells me after this match with Josh Bishop, if it's anything like any of their others, or any point in time that even when they were just in the 6-man tag last night, these you want to talk about 2 people who love to beat the hell out of each other.
Yeah, it was rough. It was rough and rowdy in there at the Winchester.
There's hatred there, but it's like they love that animosity towards each other. I don't know.
I think they both feel that the animosity brings the best out of both of them. You know what I mean? So
Okay.
It just like and the bar just keeps getting raised.
And there's Wes Barkley just keeps sticking his face in the middle of it at times, and he might get what's coming to him Friday night.
We'll see. We'll see.
No, there was
Wes Barkley fan favorite.
There was a rumor that Wes Barkley was going to be in a cage at one point, but look, folks, we
don't got the budget for that.
Yeah, we don't have that money. You put 500-600 people in there consistently, maybe we start to work on the budget.
We don't got the money to suspend a shark cage above the Odeon.
No,
but it was discussed at one point.
So I don't think Matt Justice will have. I could be wrong because he's just a maniac. I don't know if he has the energy to go through this intense title match and then cash in. But who knows?
His car was stolen last night. All his wrestling gear was also stolen. Could have been Bishop and Barkley.
So maybe he's trying to get 2 paydays here.
Could have been Bishop and Barkley. They could be doing a little mental warfare there.
You think so?
I don't know.
I guess I wouldn't put it past them.
Guess we're gonna have to see what happens if the police ever show up to investigate the crime scene.
Yeah, I mean, the truck was just left, which obviously, if you want to point fingers,
all they did is they just stole his wrestling gear.
Yeah,
and his merch.
You look at a guy like Maserati Wes Barkley, all that money, he doesn't need the truck.
It could just be the mental game they're playing.
You're absolutely right. Similar to when
I don't know what he's gonna wrestle it on Friday. He don't have any boots.
Probably took notes from Hot Sauce Entertainment.
Yeah, like what they did with the Weird World with that car accident that one time.
So, like I said, a lot of question marks there with regards to Matt Justice and what the future holds for him and what goes around his waist, literally, whether it be titles or currently gear, I guess, wrestling gear. We'll find all that out on Friday. And then that leads us into your absolute title match. Your champion, Tom Lawler, taking on the Gauntlet for the Gold winner, Eddie Kingston. And what was a mutual respect has
breaking down
really turned into something here. I I don't even know how to describe the poem or whatever that Tom Lawler put out.
It's you'll have to seek that one out, folks. It is something.
But it's intense.
If you have not seen it, the extreme poet Tom Lawler.
Yeah, a little bedtime story is what it was. He was getting in his bed there and reads a story.
Looks like a comfy bed, I'll tell you that.
It really did, actually.
All that Dana White money.
So, these two have just been mouthing off to each other nonstop. Eddie Kingston tried to throw a chair at Tom Lawler.
Yeah, it really broke down during the J-Lit stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like anytime there was some downtime, it seemed like they were just taking shots and bickering at each other.
A little bit on Twitter, even leading into that. And then they kept going. Eddie then, night 2, running his mouth, and then Tom Lawler comes down and gets in the ring, gets face to face with him, and we got to get in there and separate these two. And then next thing you know, Tom Lawler jumps on the microphone during intermission on Fite TV and says how he feels. Says it's not his fault Eddie Kingston waited for his last year of his career to actually give a damn.
Yeah, and then you know what else is interesting about this whole ordeal is Eddie Kingston is kind of going back on this retirement stuff a little bit, and saying like, well, he said he would just stop working some places.
Yeah,
it's very interesting. You know,
he said he wouldn't stop AIW until he wins the Absolute title. That's what he said at Gauntlet.
And Eddie Kingston is a guy, again, who could never really win the big one in AIW. But it's a very interesting dynamic. And Eddie Kingston, a guy who is usually very, I guess, very vocal, is could be experiencing a little hesitation because Tom Lawler is really bringing some real jabs his way. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah. Because you're right, Eddie Kingston, when he speaks,
I don't think anybody ever gets that personal with Eddie Kingston.
No, he gets guys to kind of back down when he says stuff because, as Eddie likes to say, he's a real shooter, and guys will be like, "Oh yeah, okay," and,
he's getting some of his own. He's been getting some of his own medicine though. If you go and you watch some of that stuff that happened during J-Lit weekend, the Tom Lawler saying, and Tom Lawler put it out on his Twitter last week. It's pretty interesting stuff.
And these two have had a singles match before at AIW
on an Absolution,
and it was brutal. And it was it 2 years ago now?
I believe it was 2 years ago. Yeah.
And it was an incredible match, one worth seeking out at Smart Mark Video. That's Absolution 12. So that match was hard-hitting, and people loved that. And it was, as crazy and wild as it gets without any added stipulations to it. Now the stakes are even higher. We're talking about a guy, trying to have a career-defining moment for himself that he wants, and a title that he wants, and Tom Lawler not wanting to relinquish his title because this is a title that Tom Lawler coveted and wanted for a long time. Now that he has it, he doesn't want to let it go.
Exactly. So I think this is going to be the perfect way to headline, the biggest show of the year. I dare you to name two other big match performers in AIW than Eddie Kingston and Tom Lawler, both always over deliver in any situation.
I was going to say, do you feel like you, off the top of your head, have ever had a match, an absolute title match like this at Absolution, where you felt like the absolute title means more to both of these guys in the match than anybody else?
It varies, honestly. Because, like I've said on this podcast before, it's like sometimes when after something is discussed, it evaporates from my brain. You know
Sure.
what I mean? So, in this very moment, I'm going to say no, but that's not to discredit any other Absolution main event.
No,
either.
we're just crediting the attitude, the pride that these guys have in it. Like I said, this is something that both of these guys were coveting for so long. So the fact that now they're meeting in this manner, in this way, Absolution 14 is going to be something, folks. I don't have words to, I guess, describe my expectations right now. And I think you're going to want to be there. If you didn't get your ticket yet, get it. It's general admission, but you're not going to have a bad seat in the house at the Odeon, even if it's standing room only.
Yeah, and general admission applies to the second row and back on the floor.
Yeah.
First come, first serve. And, if you can find one of those nice balcony spots in the balcony, that's all up for grabs in general admission as well.
Yeah, plus you'll have a full bar there, so get rowdy. We'll have some Angelo's Pizza as well for you to eat. And if you're not there, if you're not even in the vicinity of Cleveland, stream this on Fite TV because, man, it's going to be worth it. I think the crowd's going to be electric. The guys on the card are going to be electric.
And it
I don't know
seems,
what else to tell you.
And it seems like there's a lot of people that want AIW to stream all the time, and it's like, well, this is the way you're gonna have to support it if you want to see a live stream.
Yeah,
it's the only way that we can do it, and it makes financial sense for us. But it needs to be supported, and if you support it, I'm sure that we can twist Mike Burns' arm to do more streams,
sure,
and more live things, and get more out there to the world on a more consistent basis. And it's only $12.99 to order Absolution on Fite TV, which is it's very low. Like it's lower than a lot of even the independent wrestling pay-per-views that you can order. So,
and you get a replay, right?
You get unlimited
replays.
So, you know what I mean? Like even if you can't watch live, please order it, support it, pre-order it. A lot of the world works on these analytics and statistics these days, and a lot of their faith in us depends on the pre-sale number heading into the week. So you know what I mean? If there's consistent orders throughout the week, and especially on Friday night, we see that big spike. They're going to want us to do more of these, but it has to make it can't be 5 people sitting at home, ordering it. It has to be a decent number, which is we have to sell a few hundred at least for them to want to do this on a consistent basis. And I think that we do have the following and the support through this podcast, through social media, whatever you want to call it. I do think that there are people that are very interested in what we're doing. I think we're doing a lot of things that are different compared to the landscape of independent wrestling at this very moment. And now's your chance to check it out and watch it and support it and see it for yourself. And, it's kind of like if you like what we're doing, you have to show us, because if we're doing something and it's not bringing in a Fite TV order or a ticket sale, it makes everything harder for us to accomplish.
Yeah. For lack of better terms and adage, put your money where your mouth is. If you love us, you got to show it to us that way. It's not to be putting that rudely, but
even if you don't love us, but you want to you want to flirt with us and take us out to dinner once. Buy this pay-per-view on Friday night.
Absolutely.
And let's see what happens.
Yeah, maybe we
go to a long-term relationship.
Maybe we get invited up for coffee after the dinner. Who knows? So once again, join us in person or stream it at Fite TV. Absolution 14, August the 2nd, emanating live from the historic Odeon Concert Club in downtown Cleveland, Ohio.
This Friday night.
This Friday night.
And then we're going to the Good Company afterwards.
Yeah, join us there for the after party, if you're in town, of course. We will not be streaming the after party, folks.
No, we can't show that stuff. But they're going to keep the kitchen open late, as usual, for an AIW event. They only do that special for AIW event nights. They keep the kitchen open and, drink specials and all sorts of stuff going on.
So we'll see you there, or you'll see us on your television or laptop, however you're going to be streaming it.
Yeah, so, your device.
Your device, yeah, whatever device you choose.
Whatever device that is.
Yeah. And other than that, we will talk to you guys next week right here on The Card is Going to Change.
Thanks.